Okay, settle in. It's time for the deep dive. We've got this stack of sources, articles, your notes, quite a bit of material, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're digging into something pretty significant happening over in Southeast Asia. Malaysia's National Blockchain Infrastructure, MBI for short.
That's right. And it's interesting because, when we talk digital economy foundations, people usually jump to fast internet or maybe cloud computing.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Exactly. And those are vital, no question. But MBI is about a different layer, maybe a deeper one. It's about the trust layer, transparency, efficiency, and how data and value move around digitally.
Okay, so that's our mission today then. Let's unpack what MBI actually is, why a country like Malaysia is doing this now, and what it means for them. And maybe, more broadly, we'll try to pull out the really interesting bits from all this research.
It's definitely a notable move. I mean, a government embedding blockchain right into its core digital strategy, that says something. It makes you ask, what problems are they trying to solve? What's the specific opportunity here?
Right, so first things first. How do the sources actually define MBI? What's the basic pitch?
Okay, so at its core, it's described as a government-backed neutral blockchain platform.
Government-backed. That sounds important.
It is. That gives it a certain weight, legitimacy. It's not just some startup's project. And neutral is key too. The idea is it's not for just one company or one specific app. It's meant as like common ground, infrastructure.
Got it. Official backing, built for everyone. What's the big picture goal? Why build this thing?
Well, the main purpose, based on the material, is to be this unified cross-chain infrastructure. It's meant to support and really speed up Malaysia's whole digital transformation push.
A foundation for building other digital stuff on top.
Exactly. A shared, trusted base for all sorts of digital services across different industries, driving efficiency, trust, that kind of thing.
Unified cross-chain.
Yeah.
Okay, we definitely need to circle back to what that means technically, but how's it being built? Who's involved?
This is where the public-private partnership comes in. It's a big emphasis in the sources. It's not just the government doing it alone. It's a team effort. You've got MIMOS, which is the government's R&D agency. Then MyEgg Services, they're a big Malaysian tech company known for doing government service stuff.
Right, I've heard of them.
And then there's Zetrix, who provides the actual blockchain technology. So it's this three-way collaboration that's driving it.
Interesting mix. Government research arm, a private implementer, and the tech provider. Seems deliberate.
Very much so.
And what bigger national plans does this MBI thing tie into? The sources mentioned some wider visions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's not happening in a vacuum. The sources link it directly to Malaysia's national blockchain roadmap, sort of their master plan for using DLT.
DLT, distributed ledger technology.
Right. And also to the MADANI vision, which is their broader national framework. Think sustainability, prosperity, innovation, trust. MBI is seen as fitting right into that.
And wasn't there a specific economic target mentioned? Something about the digital economy.
Spot on. The digital economy blueprint. MBI is explicitly positioned as a tool to help hit a pretty ambitious target, getting digital tech to contribute over 22.5% of Malaysia's GDP by 2025.
Wow, over a fifth of the economy. That's soon.
Yeah.
And MBI is supposed to help make that happen.
That's the idea. The sources frame it as a catalyst, providing that underlying trust infrastructure that's needed for more advanced, high-value digital services to really take off.
Okay, so where are they starting? What are the first areas they're aiming MBI at? Any specific sectors mentioned?
Yeah, a few key ones pop up repeatedly. Identity verification is a big one.
Digital IB.
Exactly. Making digital IDs for people and businesses more secure, easier to verify. Trade is another major area. Things like streamlining trade finance, customs, tracking goods.
Okay.
And finance is the third. Think digital assets, maybe faster payments, new financial tools built on this platform.
Identity, trade, finance, pretty core stuff.
Yeah.
How does using a national blockchain like MBI actually improve those things compared to, say, just better databases or existing digital systems?
Good question. It boils down to blockchain's specific features, right? Immutability, meaning records can't be easily tampered with. Transparency, shared visibility for involved parties. And sometimes cutting out middlemen.
Okay, so for identity.
For identity, imagine having a digital credential maybe on your phone that's cryptographically secured. You control it. You can share proof of, say, your age or qualifications without handing over all your data. Reduces paper, fights fraud in things like bank onboarding, KYC checks, or getting permits.
Makes sense.
And trade.
A trade gets complex fast. Lots of documents, different parties. MBI could allow like a single shared, trusted record of goods moving through the supply chain, digital bills of lading, certificates of origin. Everyone sees the same verified info in real time. Less paperwork, fewer delays, fewer arguments. I can see the appeal there. Finance?
Similar themes, maybe issuing company shares as digital tokens on the platform, securely and transparently. Or potentially much faster, cheaper cross-border payments compared to the old banking systems.
Right.
It's about adding trust and efficiency using that shared ledger.
So, real-world applications, not just theory. What makes this MBI project stand out, though? There are lots of blockchains out there. Why the focus on national infrastructure?
That's the critical point the sources keep hammering home. This isn't just another private blockchain project for one company or some crypto thing. It's being built as foundational digital infrastructure for the whole country.
Like roads or the power grid.
Exactly like that. That level of government backing and strategic intent changes the game. It's designed for broad public and private sector use from day one. Regulation, security, long-term stability, those are built into the thinking. It's got the weight of national policy behind it.
That definitely gives it a different feel than, say, a corporate consortium chain.
Totally different scope and purpose. It's about providing those basic digital roads for trust and efficiency that everyone else can then build on top of. It elevates blockchain to a core national capability.
Okay, let's pivot back to that technical bit you mentioned, unified cross-chain infrastructure. That sounds pretty central to how MBI works. What does cross-chain actually mean here?
Yeah, this is one of the really interesting design choices highlighted. Cross-chain basically means MBI isn't designed to be an island. It's built specifically to talk to and work with other major blockchain networks that already exist.
Like, it has built-in bridges.
Kind of, yeah. Or maybe like having universal adapter plugs. It can connect to different systems, different blockchains out there in the wider world. It's not a walled garden.
Okay, so it's designed for connection. Do the sources mention which specific networks it's aiming to connect with?
They do. Specifically, they call out interoperability with big public chains like Ethereum and Solana.
Wow, okay. Those are huge ecosystems.
Right. And it's not just a vague idea. It's apparently a core part of the technical design. It shows a strategy to link Malaysia's national infrastructure into that bigger global blockchain liquidity and activity.
Why is that so important? Why connect a national platform to global giants like Ethereum or Solana? What's the payoff?
The benefits are pretty significant, according to the sources. First off, it lowers the technical hurdles for developers in Malaysia.
Also,
Well, instead of being forced to pick just one chain and getting maybe locked into its ecosystem or having to build their own complicated, potentially risky bridges between chains.
which sounds expensive and difficult.
Exactly. They can build on MBI, which might offer certain advantages like government backing or specific features, but still tap into the users, the assets, the smart contracts that live on Ethereum or Solana, for example.
So it makes life easier for developers, reduces friction.
Precisely. And that also potentially lowers the financial barriers. Building on shared national infrastructure could be cheaper than running your own private blockchain. Plus, interacting with global networks means you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can potentially leverage existing DeFi tools on Ethereum or identity solutions on another chain without rebuilding everything from scratch on MBI.
Right, tap into what's already there. Does this cross-chain thing help with deploying more complex applications too?
Absolutely. It's crucial for applications that naturally need to span different systems. Supply chain is the classic example given in the sources.
Come on.
Think about it. A product might move between different companies, different countries, maybe using different tracking systems, some perhaps already using some form of blockchain. MBI, being interoperable, could act as that common trusted layer that connects these dots, verifying documents, tracking goods, maybe triggering payments automatically across these different systems.
Common language layer.
Kind of, yeah. The sources also mention digital identity being streamlined this way. An identity managed on MBI could potentially be used to access services running on other connected blockchains.
So that unified part is really about connecting things that are currently separate.
Exactly. It's not just about Malaysia having its blockchain. It's about Malaysia having a blockchain that can act as a central hub, connecting outwards. So the tech architecture, it's not just plumbing. It's designed as an enabler for innovation. It provides this flexible, connected base layer.
Setting the stage for new possibilities.
That's the hope, yeah. Providing the foundation.
Now, MBI is fascinating by itself, but your sources put it in a wider context. Apparently, it's not the only government getting into the blockchain infrastructure game. What's this global trend look like?
You're right. It's part of a bigger picture, a really significant emerging trend, actually. More and more governments worldwide are looking at and actively building their own sort of sovereign blockchain platforms, or at least large-scale national or regional infrastructures using DLT.
Are there other big examples mentioned besides MBI?
Yes, the sources specifically call out China's BSN, the Blockchain Service Network, and the European Union's EBSI, the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure.
Okay, China and the EU. Big players.
Definitely. And these are major state-backed initiatives aimed at providing foundational blockchain services across their territories.
What does the rise of these platforms, BSN, APSI, MBI, tell us about how governments are thinking about blockchain now? Is it changing?
It signals a huge strategic shift, really profound. Governments are moving way beyond just looking at crypto regulation, which is often the first step everywhere.
Right, dealing with Bitcoin and things.
Exactly. Now they're starting to see blockchain itself as a core national digital asset, as critical infrastructure, like digital roads and rails.
So less focus on the speculative side, more on the utility.
Precisely. The purpose of these sovereign platforms, according to the sources covering them, is to be the backbone for essential digital services. We're talking national digital ID systems, smoothing out international trade, tracking supply chains, maybe enabling central bank digital currencies down the line, or just making government services more efficient and transparent. It's pulling blockchain from the fringes right into the center of national digital strategy.
Okay, so where does Malaysia's MBI fit into that global picture specifically?
Malaysia's angle, as the sources point out, is quite strategic. The big emphasis is on creating an ASEAN-focused interoperable platform.
ASEAN. So focusing on Southeast Asia.
Exactly. By designing MBI to connect not just globally to Ethereum and Solana, but also potentially regionally within Southeast Asia, Malaysia's positioning itself, it could become a kind of central hub or bridge within this network of national and regional blockchain efforts.
So building for Malaysia first, but with an eye on connecting the whole neighborhood, digitally speaking.
That seems to be the ambition, yes. ASEAN is economically diverse, complex. An interoperable platform like MBI could, in theory, make things like cross-border trade finance, digital identity verification, or supply chain tracking much smoother between member countries. It could foster deeper regional integration.
That's a pretty big vision, building out from a national project. Right. Let's go back to how it's being built. That public-private partnership, MIMOs, MAIG, Zetrix, you said it was crucial. Why is that structure so important here, according to the sources?
Yeah, the sources really stress this. It's presented not just as a convenient way to build it, but as fundamental to the whole initiative's potential success.
And why does that particular mix work so well for something like national infrastructure? What's the logic?
It's about bringing together different necessary strengths. MIMOs, the government agency, brings the R&D muscle, the strategic direction, and crucially, the government's stamp of approval. That ensures it aligns with national policy, gets regulatory support.
Okay, the government piece.
Then MAIG, the private company experienced in government digital services, they bring the practical know-how, how to actually build, deploy, and run large-scale public-facing tech platforms efficiently. They understand user needs, operations.
The implementation muscle.
Right. And Zetrix provides the core blockchain tech itself, the specialized platform expertise. So you combine government legitimacy and strategy with private sector speed and operational skill, plus the cutting-edge technology.
That synergy sounds powerful on paper.
That's exactly the argument. The sources also mentioned this model helps build trust and transparency. Users, citizens, businesses, other agencies might feel more confident knowing the government is involved, that it's built to certain standards by experienced players. And that trust is absolutely vital if people are actually going to use it for important things like identity or trade.
Can't have national infrastructure nobody trusts.
Definitely not. And interestingly, the sources suggest this specific partnership model might even become a blueprint for other big tech projects in Malaysia in the future. A proven way to blend government goals with private sector capabilities.
So, lesson learned for how to do big tech deployments generally.
Potentially, yes. It's seen as a potentially winning formula.
Okay, let's talk money and jobs. Building big infrastructure usually has economic goals. What are the expected economic benefits of MBI? Based on your sources?
Yeah, the economic side is a huge driver. MBI is definitely framed as an engine for growth in Malaysia's digital economy. Attracting investment is one key expected benefit.
How does a national blockchain platform attract investment, though? What's the mechanism there?
Well, the thinking is that by providing this stable, government-backed infrastructure with clear rules of engagement, MBI makes Malaysia a more attractive place for blockchain companies and investors. It reduces uncertainty.
Predictability is good for investment.
Exactly. Government backing signals seriousness. Plus, because it's designed to be interoperable and multi-chain, it creates a richer ecosystem with more potential business opportunities, both for local companies and international players looking to set up shop. It gives them a solid foundation and a clear entry point.
So it creates a better environment for blockchain businesses to thrive. What about jobs? Is that part of the promise?
Oh, absolutely. Creating high-value jobs is a major stated goal. The idea is, as MBI gets built out and more applications are developed on top of it, demand for people with blockchain skills will surge.
What kind of skills, specifically?
Yeah.
What jobs are we talking about?
The sources list quite a range. Blockchain developers, obviously. Smart contract auditors, super important for security. People who specialize in digital identity on the blockchain. DLT system analysts. Project managers who understand blockchain projects. Even roles in things like tokenomics or blockchain security consulting. Both building MBI itself and then all the services using it will need skilled people.
Whole new set of tech jobs, essentially. How does Malaysia plan to fill them? Are they focused on training people?
Yes, talent development is flagged as critical. The sources talk about nurturing local blockchain expertise. Making the platform itself easier to build on that unified approach helps lower the barrier for developers. But also things like working blockchain into university courses, supporting R&D, basically building a pipeline of skilled workers ready for this ecosystem.
Makes sense. You need the people to make the tech work.
Right, so you attract investment, you create these high-skill jobs, you train the talent, and all of this, the sources emphasize, ties directly back to that big national goal, hitting the 22.5% GDP contribution from the digital economy by 2025. MBI is seen as a key driver for getting there, enabling new digital businesses, not just tweaking old ones.
It's about growing the whole digital economic pie, anchored by this new infrastructure.
That's the vision. And also helping startups flourish by giving them easier access to reliable infrastructure and maybe new ways to get funding or liquidity through the platform.
Okay. Now, thinking about the wider world again, how does a big national platform like MBI actually interact with the global blockchain scene? Does it compete? Does it collaborate? How does it shape things?
It's an interesting dynamic described in the sources. It seems to do a bit of both competition and collaboration.
Okay, let's say competition first. How does MBI compete with, say, Ethereum or Solana?
Well, by offering this government-backed, unified, interoperable alternative, Malaysia is essentially putting another option on the table for developers and businesses.
An alternative place to build.
Exactly. While it's designed to connect to global chains, it also presents itself as potentially the better or even necessary platform for certain things within Malaysia or the Asian region. So it competes for developers, for applications, for investment that might otherwise have just gone straight to the big global public chains. A company operating in Malaysia might choose MBI because of the regulatory clarity or the government links.
So it carves out its own niche, potentially attracting activity.
Right. And interestingly, the sources suggest this competition could actually be healthy for the whole ecosystem.
How so?
It might push the big global chains like Ethereum and Solana to improve their own game, especially regarding interoperability and features that appeal to enterprises or governments. They need to make sure they can easily connect with and remain relevant alongside these emerging national platforms.
So MBI's existence could spur innovation everywhere.
That's one potential positive outcome mentioned. Now, on the collaboration side, the benefits are also clear. For Malaysian companies, building on MBI gives them a leg up, a trusted government-endorsed platform. Might help them win government contracts or reach local users more easily.
A home field advantage? Sort of.
Kind of. And for international companies, MBI is explicitly positioned as a doorway into the ASEAN market.
A gateway.
Yeah. If you're a company outside Southeast Asia wanting to expand there, integrating with MBI could offer a smoother, more compliant entry point than trying to navigate each country's rules and tech landscape individually.
Like a single integration point for the region.
Potentially. So it's not just one or the other. MBI competes, yes, but it also creates new ways to collaborate, potentially speeding up tech development overall and making the whole global blockchain market more dynamic and interconnected.
It sounds like it's deliberately trying to shape how blockchain gets adopted, both inside Malaysia and maybe beyond.
That definitely seems to be the strategy behind its design and positioning.
Okay, one last big area.
Yeah.
Regulation. Just the fact that MBI exists at this national level must say something about Malaysia's approach to blockchain, right? It's not just about crypto coins.
Absolutely. It signals a very proactive and arguably quite sophisticated regulatory stance. By investing in national infrastructure for core functions, Malaysia is showing they see blockchain as much more than just crypto trading.
How does building the infrastructure itself send a regulatory signal?
Well, it shows they view the underlying technology, the distributed ledger, as a fundamental tool. A tool for building core digital systems, for making the economy more resilient, for increasing transparency, for driving innovation. It's embracing the tech, integrating it into the national digital fabric, rather than just fencing it off as something risky or purely financial.
So seeing it as useful, essential maybe, not just problematic.
Exactly. The mindset seems shifted towards enabling the good use cases, not just preventing the bad ones. This proactive approach, with MBI as the centerpiece, suggests Malaysian regulators will likely keep developing specific rules to support its use. Think standards for digital IDs on the blockchain, rules for tokenized assets in trade, data privacy guidelines tailored to this kind of shared ledger. The focus shifts from regulating speculative assets to enabling functional infrastructure.
And could Malaysia's regulatory approach here influence other countries?
The sources suggest it might, particularly within ASEAN. Given MBI's regional focus, other Southeast Asian nations might watch Malaysia's experience closely. How they regulate digital identity, trade finance, etc. on MBI could become a reference point or even a model for policy development across the region.
So Malaysia could end up being a leader in the how-to of integrating blockchain nationally, not just the what.
That's the potential influence highlighted, yes. Leading not just in building the tech, but also in figuring out the rules for making it work safely and effectively at a national scale.
Wow. Okay. We have covered a lot of ground here, pulling all this together from the sources. So just to recap, MBI is this strategic national project tied to big economic goals like the GDP target and the MADANI vision.
Government-backed neutral platform.
Right. And technically sophisticated, this unified cross-chain design aiming to connect with global giants like Ethereum and Solana.
Which is key for lowering barriers and enabling innovation.
We put it in that global trend of sovereign blockchains, China's BSN, EU's a BSI, with Malaysia carving out that specific ASEAN focus.
Positioning itself as a regional hub.
We looked at the power of that public-private partnership, MIMOs, MyEgg, Zetrix pooling strengths, maybe even being a model for future projects.
Leveraging different expertises, building trust.
We explored the economic hopes pinned on it, attracting investment, creating those high-value tech jobs, the need for talent development.
All driving towards that digital economy contribution.
We talked about how it interacts with the wider ecosystem competing, but also collaborating, possibly pushing everyone towards better interoperability.
A dynamic influence.
And finally, how its very existence signals a forward-looking regulatory approach, focusing on enabling infrastructure, not just controlling speculation, potentially influencing the region.
It's a really comprehensive picture when you pull it all together from the source material. MBI definitely comes across as strategic, multi-layered. It's clearly about boosting Malaysia's digital capabilities significantly, taking blockchain mainstream for national purposes.
Yeah, making it foundational.
Exactly. By enabling these more trusted, efficient applications on a government-backed, connected platform, it really does seem poised to make a difference, both for Malaysia and potentially in the wider blockchain world.
It feels like more than just a technology upgrade. It's about digital sovereignty, economic strategy.
That's definitely the underlying message coming through.
Which leads us perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We're seeing these national government-backed blockchain infrastructures like MBI starting to emerge. It's not just Malaysia. Think about what that implies. It's the fundamental layers for things like your digital identity or how trade is financed or how goods are tracked. Start moving on to these kinds of shared, transparent, maybe government-overseen ledgers. How could that change how you interact with government services in the future? How you do business? How you improve who you are online? It hints at a potentially very different digital landscape, one where trust is perhaps baked into the infrastructure in a new way, orchestrated at a national level. Something to definitely keep an eye on as this trend develops globally.
A future where that digital trust is part of the bedrock, shaped by national goals and global connections. Food for thought.
Indeed. And that wraps up our deep dive into Malaysia's national blockchain infrastructure. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you on the next one.